You're listening to the Sisters in Loss podcast, a faith-based grief and loss podcast for Black women, where you will hear stories of miscarriage, infant loss, stillbirth, and infertility to learn there is a testimony in tragedy. You will learn how to heal, gain clarity, find hope and peace, and turn your pain into your purpose after loss. I'm your host, Erica M. McAfee. Welcome to episode 72 of the Sisters in Loss podcast. Have you heard of endometriosis? Do you know someone with this diagnosis? In today's episode, Nicole Clark shares her infertility journey due to endometriosis, her miscarriage healing journey, and what led her to start her nonprofit organization called 1212 Ministries. 1212 Ministries is the nonprofit organization created to support women who are struggling to conceive with infertility, being barren, or suffering loss through a miscarriage, stillbirth, or adoption. The name is inspired by Romans 12:12, rejoicing in hope, patient in tribulation, continually steadfastly in prayer. Nicole shares in this episode how she struggled with infertility due to endometriosis for years, how her miscarriage empowered her to help other women, and how she believed God for her rainbow baby after months of hope, prayers, tears, surgeries, supplements, and remedies. I know we all have been there for those of us who are battling infertility. It is my hope and prayer that you all enjoy this episode. Here is Nicole Clark. Thank you, Nicole, for being on the podcast.
Hi, yes, I'm so excited.
Well, let the listeners know a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Well, my name is Nicole, and I am the founder of 1212 Ministries. I live here in Frisco, Texas. I do have a rambunctious diva 6-year-old daughter and a wonderful husband, and that is really it. I'm just busy and yeah, let's go.
Awesome. So take us back and tell us about your journey to motherhood.
I love this question. So to motherhood was long. Oh my goodness, it was so long. I grew up in a very loving, fun environment, younger siblings. And I just grew up around a lot of family. And I knew at a very young age that I wanted to have kids, but just kind of throughout my life, I thought that was not going to be an option for me. I was a backup dancer for a little while, and I was just touring the country. Just settling down did not seem like an option for me. But then finally, God brought a wonderful man into my life, and then I am. And so I love to say that because for him, he was like, I'm good. I don't need any kids. But I'm like, wait a second. This is purpose. I'm supposed to be a mom. I'm telling you. And so we kind of just decided, yes, we're going to have kids, and started to try. But that thought that I wanted, that I hoped for. And so months just went by. 6 months went by. A year went by. And now we're like 13, 14. Still am not pregnant. And my doctor's like, hey, why don't we start to go through the testing process? Let's test your husband, let's test you, and let's see what's happening. My husband, he was like, nope, we're not doing anything that is not in God's hands. And I don't believe that we should do that. If it happened, literally, I really think it was like the next month. It might have been a couple weeks, but we got pregnant. We got pregnant with Delaney, and all things were great. So I'm so thankful, just so appreciative and grateful for God answering that prayer. Fast forward just a couple years down the road. Again, it was my desire to have another child. It was not for my husband. But finally, one day he said, hey, you know what? God told me to tell you to stop taking your pill. And of course, I think that it was about me. And unfortunately, it was not. But we kind of went through a whole big, journey of not having a child. And in that process, I found out that I do have endometriosis, which, we know it causes infertility. And that's kind of just been my journey since then. So again, thankful for my daughter, but I'm not sure if, having another child is in our future. So that's a little bit of my journey.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. So tell us a little bit more about, if you don't mind sharing, about your diagnosis with endometriosis and just how you and your husband have been walking through that journey of just trying again for another child.
That journey was definitely difficult. my focus was just, have a baby, and, I really tried to do everything. I did any sort of old wives' tale, any supplement that I found online. I was in from my home. I'm going to say this. My husband will secretly agree with me. He'll never publicly say this, but I did go a little crazy trying to have a baby. And in that, my doctor was like, hey, you can have this surgery. We'll go in laparoscopically just to try to get all of the endometriosis out. We'll check your fallopian tubes. And unfortunately, doing all that, we experienced or walked through a miscarriage. It was very early in the pregnancy, but it still was a loss for both of us. And it was tough. It was really, really tough to walk through that. And we kind of had to just really join forces with Christ to be like, okay, what is your purpose for us? What's your purpose for our family? And if it's not now, can you help us wait and be patient? And even if it's a no, can you help bring us some understanding and some peace into that, just so we can be able to just move forward and that not be a burden, in our marriage.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. So how did you and your husband really grieve the loss that you had, and how did it affect your relationship?
I think just going through that process with each other, we just stuck by each other. And he really stuck by me because that was a hard time because I still had hope. I still had hope for the future to be able to have a child. And he just had my back, and he just, encouraged me so much. I know, though, that he, I think that it's still, is, I wouldn't say an issue, but it's something, that still has that special place in our heart, that we know that we did experience that loss together. But again, that just allowed us to grow stronger and our faith grow closer to each other.
Awesome. As the trees continue to change colors and the weather turns from muggy to crisp, the anticipation of fall and winter and the holiday season is here. We see it in the stores where they have already begun with the Christmas and Thanksgiving preparations and decorations. And for me, like you, the pain of grief tends to surface with great intensity during these milestone events. Birthdays, anniversaries, and holidays are typical events that are associated with our grief journey. So please do not let the holidays go by without learning how to navigate them properly. Join me on November 13th, November 27th, and December 11th, where I will teach you 3 ways on how to navigate grief during the holidays. In this webinar, we'll learn how to navigate grief during the holidays, how to deal with families and friends during the holidays, because we know how stressful that could be. And then also, how are we going to honor our angels these days? All 3 dates are the same webinar, so you have 3 different dates to choose from and sign up for whichever one that you want. If not, you can catch the replay by going to bit.ly/navigating grief. Go to bit.ly/navigating grief to sign up. Do not let these holidays pass you by without knowing how to navigate your grief properly. So let's talk about your ministry and your inspiration for starting the 1212 Ministries, and tell us a little bit more about what you all do.
My inspiration absolutely for 1212 is just my experience. In that, again, I said from, at the beginning, said, hey, God told me to tell you to get off your pill. I thought that was going to be about me, but it was not. Nothing to do with me whatsoever. And in that long, just awful, agonizing process, he showed me that for all of the pain that I experienced, all of the hurt and the loss and the grieving and the sadness, he was going to use that for good, for me to be able to help others while they're walking through infertility or experiencing loss. And, that is the entire inspiration and motivation behind it. 1212 is inspired by Romans 12:12 about being hopeful and patient, staying in prayer constantly. Yes, we want everyone for God to bless them with the desires of their heart to have a child any way possible. But really our main focus is to point you back to Christ, to help lift your head and remind God's goodness and how wonderful he is. And that really he is always good. He may not seem like he's good while you're hurting, but he never leaves you. He never forsakes you. And he's always there. And that is just such an important reminder. And that I just want to share that with everybody.
Awesome. So tell us about some resources that you used on your journey and any tools that are out there to help you heal after your loss.
I'm so appreciative and thankful that we have. But I think the biggest resource for me was just support. Mm-hmm. So regardless, I am hoping and praying that you find a support group for you, whether that's your family, your friends, your church, just someone for you to talk with, cry on their shoulder with, share your feelings of hurt and just be surrounded by people that can just love on you. I think that that's so important. And in this community, so many people feel that they are alone, and just support is important. And that is my biggest resource.
Awesome. So what encouraging words can you leave the mom that's out there who's facing infertility and is still waiting for her rainbow baby?
Do not give up. Do not lose hope. God loves you. He has a plan for you. He has a purpose for your life. And cast all of your cares on him because he is good and you are not alone.
Awesome. So where can we find you, Nicole, on social media, and what's your website?
Well, you can find 1212 on Instagram, on Facebook, just at 1212 Ministries. We also have a Circle of Hope support group on Facebook. You can visit our website, which is just 1212ministries.com. Spelling is a little bit different. It is the word 12 and then the number 12 and then just ministries. That's where you can find us.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, Nicole, for sharing your story and your journey with us. I know that women will be blessed by 1212 Ministries.
Thank you. I just appreciate you so much, and I appreciate you for your community and your outlet, and this is great. Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. I pray that this show was inspirational and a blessing to you. For show notes, visit ericamcafee.com/podcast. Please join us in our offline discussions in our private Facebook group by going to sistersinloss.com. If you're listening in Apple Podcasts, please rate and subscribe to us and leave us a 5-star review. I pray that you all have a blessed week. Keep the faith, and I'll talk to you next Wednesday.